Nikki Giovanni is a successful African-American poet who was born in Tennessee and raised in Ohio. She is not only an author of poetry books, but she's also an author of children's books such as I Am Loved, The Sun Is So Quiet. Her first book of poems that she published was Black Feeling, Black Talk, which became one of the best sellers of poems. Other poems that she has created are Knoxville, Tennessee, and Quilts. The poems that Nikki Giovanni wrote had a big influence on the African American community and empowered them to use their voice. Throughout Nikki's life, she accomplished many things and had many awards. Some of these awards include the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, 3-time winner of the Image Award. She was the first recipient of the Rosa Parks Women of Courage Award, and she was New York Times and LA Times bestseller 3 times, which is a big deal for poets because many times poets were not considered bestsellers, especially because she was an African American woman, and a 3-time winner of this was a huge accomplishment. Nikki Giovanni had a huge influence on defining the African American voice in America. She helped start the Black Arts movement, and she helped artists find their voice and show that it's okay to stick up for yourself and use your voice to speak out. Throughout her life, becoming a poet was not something that was easy. She faced the struggles of nobody wanting her Black girl poems, as she said. No one believed in her or showed her the respect, even though she was a very talented poet. They said that her poems were Black girl, as she said before, and they did not want to publish her. Being the strong African American woman that she is, she took matters into her own hand and created her own publishing company. So she published her first poetry book, Black Talk, and it was very successful, and so it kind of showed the publishers who didn't want her Black girl poems that they were wrong, and she was actually very successful. And I think this is very inspiring, and probably was very inspiring to other people because she showed them, like, I'm not going to listen to you, I believe in myself. And it also goes along the idea of giving African Americans a voice in art, because she used her own voice to show them and prove them wrong, that she was better than what they were saying she was. In most of her poems, there is a common theme of oppression and struggle. I think that the reason she talks about this is because she went through the struggle and oppression of being a Black woman poet, and people did not show her the respect that she deserved, and they did not take her work seriously. Also, they would ignore her or disregard her work because of the color of her skin, which is ridiculous because she's very talented, but no one looked at her talents. And she would talk about the hardships of just being an African American, but in doing this, she would also talk about the struggles, but she would also empower African Americans to use their voice and do what she was doing and get out there and make a change. And it was interesting to me because from reading about Nikki's life, I could see the relationship between Lila Mae and the Intuitionist and Nikki's life, because Lila Mae had a very respected position in society, just like Nikki does. Being a poet is very respected. However, people did not look at that, both of them, the same way because they were Black women, and it caused people to have less respect for them. Whereas if it was a white male in either one of the positions, there would be more respect there. And in Nikki Giovanni's case, she probably would have been published right away and not have to start her own publishing company to just get her poetry out there. So it makes sense why in her poems there's a theme of struggle and oppression, because Giovanni, she faced those things that she writes about of struggle and oppression, and it didn't come easy to her, and she talks about that. But she also talks about how African Americans need to stand up for their rights and use their voice and not be quiet and not let this happen to them. And which she shows in an example of starting her own publishing company. They said, we don't want you, but she was like, no, my work's good enough, and put her work out there. And you see this in her work. Her writings are very strong and full of emotion, and you can see that. And even in her children's books, there's lots of imagery and stuff, and like, and to be loved, I am loved, my mistake. She talks about how we all need to be loved, and the illustrations use all races of children, and she shows like unity and that everyone is equal, which is very inspiring and really puts a good message out there, especially in her writing, and to younger children too. The poem Choices by Nikki Giovanni highlights that we can't always have what we want, but we have to learn how to be happy with what we have. And she also makes a point of saying how, at the end, but that's why mankind alone among the animals learns to cry. Because we always want these things, and we can't, like she said, express what she says, when I can't express what I really feel, I practice feeling what I can express. And I think she just talks about, we can't get so down on ourselves about doing the things that we can't do, but we need to focus on the things that we can do, and how that's what will ultimately make us happy and successful. And that's why humans and mankind are so sad all the time, because we are just striving to have what we can't have. In Nikki Giovanni's lifetime, something that she did that one really great accomplishment of hers was creating the first Black Art Festival in Cincinnati, Ohio, which it's still around today, and African Americans are still showing off their art, and what she was trying to do was give a chance for African Americans to showcase their work and be recognized and appreciated for the work that they have done, because she didn't feel that when she was a poet, or she is a poet, but while she was becoming a poet, she didn't feel that recognition or love by other people. So she created this in Ohio to have African American artists showcase their work and use their voice to be heard and show in a different way. Like, she wanted to show off the different types of art, because art has a very powerful impact, and so this is a way to get their art out there, and you can just show off, and it's very influential and has a very big impact on society, because many people from all over go to it, and now there's other Black arts festivals. So that was a very good thing that she did, and has definitely helped African American artists.